Hello, everybody. Owen here. This is going to be some of the type of content that I'm going to hopefully be putting out on this channel. For the time being, it won't you won't see my ugly face. In part because I want to be able to speak more freely and not be worried about a clip making it around the internet with my face on. Even though people you'll know who I am, but for purposes of actually talking about these things, I'm going to do it without my camera on. So bear with me. So you would think that a guy who has a podcast talking about sex all the time would have a great um, sort of line of communication with his spouse about these matters. And I'm here to humbly confess to you that is not the case. And in fact, probably the reason why I podcast is I don't have a good ability to talk to my spouse about these things. And that's kind of how Joan and I started talking about things and then, started sharing them with you. I find it much easier to go on live stream and talk about these things than to have difficult conversations with my spouse about this. And I'm sure I'm not, excuse me, I'm sure I'm not alone. And so I want to be kind of more raw and filtered with you guys, and hopefully help other people um, maybe do better than I'm doing. So we're in the we're in that phase of life where we, are probably done having children. I wouldn't say we've ruled it out, but for our purposes of our discernment and our sort of feelings about life, we feel like we are probably done and are actively trying not to get pregnant, and knock on wood, have been fairly successful in doing so. And so we've been using the Marquette method of NFP for almost a year now, maybe over a year now. And it's been the most reliable method that we've used. It's the second method we've used, but it's the most reliable method we've used in terms of it provides more clarity on when it is safe and when it is not. Um, One of the reasons why it's effective is it has just a ton of abstinence built into it. Um, and so you get these short windows, one at the beginning of the cycle and another at the end of the cycle. Hopefully, if there is a measurable peak, you get a window at the end of the cycle. And for us, under our method, it we have approximately 7 or 8 days. It can be as low as 5 days, but 7 or 8 days of availability on the front end of the cycle, and there's usually 2 to 2.5 weeks of abstinence in the middle. And then, depending on the length of the cycle, we will have anywhere from, let's see, 5 to 8 days at the end of the cycle that's available to us. And as a whole, we've been doing good. But the major barrier for us is, and has been for a long time, is just the kids themselves, and specifically the youngest kids. And our youngest 2-year old has a very hostile relationship with sleep, and has r- pretty much regularly will not go to bed until close to midnight. We tried all the things, getting her up earlier nap, longer nap, shorter nap, no nap. It doesn't matter. Whatever happens, one way or another, the most evenings end with all the kids in bed except the 2-year old, and that has been historically, and not just. I mean, that has been when we've tried to be intimate. That's when it happens. There's no afternoon delights in our household. Hasn't been for, well, probably since the first we were pregnant with our first one. I guess when we had our first one, when we just had one child. But um, and I would say that's for the most part my wife's choosing. I would be more than happy to try other times of day, but there have been a variety of reasons offered, some more um, defensible than others for why she does not want to do it any other time of day. And so last night would have been a normal night for us to try something. It's in our brief window. And naturally, the 2 year old, well, what happened is she didn't get a nap during the day. It was a Sunday. She didn't get a nap during the day. And then, as usual, she fell asleep early, 7:30, slept for a half hour. Other kids woke her up, and then she was up to the races until, I don't know. I went to sleep at 11:30, and she was still up. And so this morning I got up and I brought the kids to school and came home, and the house is quiet. All the kids are gone except for the 2 year old who was still sleeping. And I sort of suggested to my wife that maybe in the future we should try this time of day. And her reaction was pretty typical and predictive. It was an immediate no. She had already showered and the child would wake up. And that has the one thing that I have really struggled with internally is, because this is something that is probably more, well, it's definitely more important to me than it is to my wife, at least that I recognize. I don't know that I don't think it should be unimportant to her, but it is. And I said to, and so it was very dismissive. And I could feel myself shaking. I can feel myself right now kind of quivering inside of me, because that has been, for the most part, reactions to any time I've attempted to bring up the topic of our intimate life and potential changes or improvements. And it's really, really hard to share something with someone that is so deeply important to you, and in the past feels like it has been either dismissed or met with anger and frustration. And so, for better or for worse, for the longest time, and I'm still guilty of this, I just don't talk about that stuff. I just struggle with it internally. And you know we just don't talk about it. Now I'm going to be different this time, but here's the practical reality. um I'm probably not going to bring it up until we have had a chance to do something, because in the back of my mind, my fear is that if she gets angry about it, if I bring it up and say, "Hey, I would really like to talk about this," if she gets angry, the response will be to banish me to the couch, and then the abstinence period will begin much earlier. So, um, so that has been a really, really recurring problem, I would say, in our marriage. And I'm not even blaming anyone other than myself, but just acknowledging how difficult it is to talk about something that is so important to you, but you are afraid that it's going to bring more pain to you and to your relationship. And so adding pain, rather than risk adding pain in an effort to make things better, you just put up with what you have. And that has been something I have really been guilty of throughout our marriage. Made some baby steps in the last year or so, but truly just baby steps. And this is something that I have really, really wrestled with. And it has emotional and spiritual dimensions to it. And I'm I've been seeing a therapist, better help. I found someone local and have been talking about these things, and um it kind of revealed how afraid I am to talk about these things. um which is so weird, because it involves the most intimate part of our relationship, and yet it's the one thing that we find, or I find at least, the most difficult to talk about. And it seems the one thing that she is least interested in sort of stepping outside of her comfort area for. And again, this is not, I'm not here to demean my wife in any way. I'm just stating the reality of it. This is probably one of those differences between men or women. But, this really underscores the human element of this within the context of marriage that really makes all of the quote unquote sexual rules really perplexing and, for the most part, unhelpful when it comes to the day to day grind of trying to live an intimate married life, to have a large family, and to deal with the natural differences between men and women when it comes to these things. And so to put so much moral weight on us navigating these things correctly, especially myself, I think is puts a just a tremendously high burden on men, women, and their marriages for reasons that will never be clear to me. So anyway, I wanted to throw that out there. This is um, hopefully the kind of stuff that I can put out in this channel, and you'll be receptive to and okay with, because I think this is the stuff that needs to be heard, and I feel a calling in my heart to share this with you guys, and hopefully, in the midst of my efforts to become better, maybe help other people to do that as well. And in a special way, my hope is that this message reaches um, Catholic wives out there that I think probably have husbands that struggle with this in some level or another and are afraid to talk about it with you. And I want you to be aware of that and perhaps pray about it and think about it and maybe invite your husband to open up to you, or your wife, if the roles are reversed, but ask your spouse to open up to you, provided you are fully committed to hearing them and reacting with nothing but love and compassion for their situation, even if inside it feels like it's an attack on you. This is the death knell to most marriages, in my opinion. Catholic marriages are no more immune to this than others. Um, so anyway, wanted to share that with you guys. Feels good to talk about it a little bit, but it also means that I feel like I have to do something about it. I probably will approach my wife in the next few days about this. Kind of wait for the right timing, but it is crazy how frightening this is and how difficult this is, even after this many years. Um, I still struggle with this, and trying to get trying to be better. So anyway, wanted to share that with you guys. Appreciate those of you who listen and support both our channels. But I hope you'll listen and help keep me accountable. Please comment, reach out to me. If you want to email me, the email link tree will be in the description below if you want to reach out to me. Always looking for people to join our Discord community. I have a new Discord community just for this show where I hope that people can talk a little more freely, um, in a way about controversial things, perhaps that maybe there isn't a good place elsewhere to do so. So I want to invite people to think about that. And if you're interested in joining the Craig Onan Discord channel, let me know. There'll be information on that in the link tree. If it's not there already, it will be soon. I'm working on that. So appreciate you guys listening. And until next time, everyone, have a good one.